Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another exciting Propagandacast with me, your host, Imperial Dane. And today I have for you a 1 versus 1 on Semois. Yes, indeed. We will be fighting on Semois in the night of Semois, in the village of Semois. Semois. And the fighting today will be done by, and yes, let's just briefly get to that because there's also some parts in it. There's a Chains fellow here who's also a caster himself. Goes by the name of Dijkstra. In fact, I have his link on the front page of my channel, so go there if you want to see a bit more of him, although I do believe he's a bit on a hiatus. Could be why he sent it in to me. And opposing him shall be the Beast. Yes, indeed, the Beast. A mysterious creation, the Beast. Yes, indeed, he is fighting here. The Beast of American capitalism versus the glorious knight that is Chains, here to slay it, perhaps, who knows. Chains facing off as the 352nd Grenadier Division versus the 1st Infantry Division here in Semois. And of course Semois sort of in 3 compartments. You have this sort of home compartments. Most of the fuel generally tends to be where most of the easier securable resources are, the fuel points right next to the bases, in either case being major harassment points. In particular, if you are the Wehrmacht, Americans really love to harass that. In the center, not quite as much, although there are some high munitions point at each victory point at the edges. And then there's one right here in the center also being the major hotspot of the match, the point where most other fighting usually tends to take place, a lot of heavy cover, a lot of buildings, and so rather where most of the fighting will be, although some attempts will usually be made to sort of try and pin in the players right here and there. More clever players and astute players will then sort of try to flank through here, thus forcing the player away from their pin situation, of course, into a slightly less favorable position for them. Of course, we'll have to see where this goes, and Chains himself is a pretty high-ranked player, so I imagine the Beast is as well. We'll have to see what Chains will be up to. He's so far starting with 3 Pioneers. That's certainly a bit unusual, in particular since he's facing the Americans. The American commander, on the other hand, is immediately sending out his engineers to secure the fuel. Second one most likely on the way. Second Pioneer team heading out towards the fuel themselves. And looks like the Beast is also going for a numerous engineer start himself, starting out with a barracks though. So 3 Pioneers, 3 engineers. That's certainly a bit of the rarer sights, I must admit. Look, obviously you have to see if additional engineers will be firing out of this headquarters from Chains, though no further, and apparently no further from the Beast as well. And so far no Wehrmacht quarters either from Chains. This is quite interesting. This is certainly unusual. Usually do see one, but no, I do believe I know what he's up to. This is only one of the rarer side as well. He's in fact going for a forward barracks, a slightly more expensive building than the Wehrmacht quarters in terms of manpower, but it costs no fuel, and of course he can set it up right closer to the front lines. And of course, in terms of what you would use as a forward barracks, the sort of same thought applies as when you sort of go for a medic bunker. You want it close to the action, but you don't want it right where he can easily get to it. You want it sort of a bit further away in a sort of secluded sort of sense. So this building rather nicely filtered, and there we go. Volksgrenadiers on the way. 352nd immediately providing some infantry once that is up. And of course using the 3 Pioneers to also immediately see some territory. And we're seeing a jeep being started out from the barrack. That's quite interesting as well. He's perhaps hoping to catch some of those Pioneers out in the open and begin gunning them down. In the meanwhile, Chains is of course rather noticing, of course, there's going to be a slight weak spot with this building at the same time being this close to the front, so immediately laying down some barbed wire right there, so it's going to be a bit harder to directly get around to, and of course allow Chains to sort of focus on one spot of the fight. And Pioneers immediately coming under fire from the jeep as it moves in with its air-cooled 30 caliber machine gun, opening up on the poor Pioneers, but the machine gun bunker opens up in support, forcing the jeep away. In the meanwhile, Volksgrenadiers are sort of mucking about right there in the center, not entirely sure what to do. Second Volksgrenadier team on the way. Engineers securing the center, and Pioneers continue getting shot at by the jeep, but for some reason the jeep is just not really getting much out of it, and is in fact taking quite a bit of damage, forcing it away. Looks like the Volksgrenadiers are moving in to deal with these engineers who have snuck in through the south. Pioneers joining in with the fun, and there we go. Engineers coming under quite a bit of fire, and forced to immediately retreat while the Pioneers run into the building. Not entirely sure why. And second Volksgrenadier team is ready while the Americans get closer to the north and are going in to try and cut off the strategic point right there, but are immediately deterred by the presence of rifles and them being shot at. And I do believe, yes indeed, we are seeing some riflemen. And the Volksgunners are advancing in right into the jeep and engineer fire. Whatever shall this result in? Apparently the Americans getting out of there as the Volksgunners aren't carrying quite the advantage. But there we go. Riflemen are advancing. Could get close to the Volksgunners and get the drop on them. Engineers though are taking quite a few losses. Quite a much firepower there, and there we go. Riflemen are close to the Volksgunners. Volksgunners won't be able to get much of their cover advantage now that Riflemen can shoot just pretty much over it. There we go. Volksgunners taking heavy losses. Jeep goes up in flames and smoke crashing into the side, leaving behind a nice bonfire as the Volksgunners flank the Riflemen in their heavy cover right there. Good show by Chains. Certainly holding the immediate manpower advantage, and it certainly caused some heavier losses to the Americans, and the American has been able to confer onto Chains, and looks like some further riflemen might be arriving right there. Yes indeed, while the others are doing their best. Engineers taking heavy losses. Riflemen once more charging in, but further Volksgunners are arriving from the forward barracks. Chains being rather aggressive with his infantry. Rather nice to see that from a Wehrmacht player. No MG42 as of yet. It can work, of course, but it certainly requires a bit more coordination. Still, you have to keep them closer, whereas the American can, of course, sort of spread his riflemen out a bit more. Volksgunners trying to take a point, but are immediately stopped by the riflemen and engineers. Quickly running into the church, hoping the house of God and that their belt buckle saying Gott mit uns is right, but no. The house of God provides no protection against fire, forcing the Volksgunners away. Others finding a bit of protection from the cemetery, but rather have to get out of there before they are permanently part of it. Americans pushing through here in the north, apparently some problems from engineers. Volksgunners taking heavy losses, but further Volksgunners keep on rushing in. These ones haven't even been reinforced, but are just in forwards, and a bunker going up for Chains. I can pretty sure that's going to be a medic bunker we're going to see there. Considering all the infantry, as he might as well go for it and again get the sort of most out of it. And I'd certainly also recommend the American gets a medic station himself, so again, so he can sort of get the most out of all the wounded he's probably going to be generating, thus decreasing the actual rate of attrition. But rather now they are again once more getting gunned down, and these chaps are not doing too well. Looks like some riflemen are mucking about there. Some engineers doing a bit of harassment right here in the north. Further riflemen arriving. These again not looking too good. Still no medic station for the Americans. Medic bunker almost fully upgraded. Chains holding on with the 352nd Volksgrenadiers, or Grenadiers, essentially could be in this case there to show off as either rather new replacements or as some of the other units that were basically dragged into the 352nd Osttruppen, Bodenständige Grenadieren, and basically Luftwaffe security units and other bits that were basically subordinated. And there we go, engineers cutting through the wire, opening up for the engineers and riflemen to sneak through there. But pioneers with flamethrowers are now providing quite a threat to these riflemen, forcing them away. And the Americans are doing a bit of harassment here. More barbed wire from Chains. Will there be any attempt at cutting this up as well? No, apparently not. And this is rather going to give Chains the needed momentum to rather divert his forces towards this in the south. BAR is now up for the Beast, and that's certainly also going to be giving Mr. Chains an idea of what to expect. And of course that's heavy infantry presence, but he's not going to have to worry about any armored cars right away, which of course means he might decide he doesn't really need the Kriegberg. Some American players rather like doing that, and instead going for something else. Americans right out in the open, forced away with the engineers. Only one team with BARs, and a bit right here in the north as well. Further BAR equipped riflemen. Browning automatic rifle. Small fighting here and there. Looks like the Americans riflemen are moving in to stop these pioneers from taking the point, opening up. The pioneers are not really meant to withstand such firepower, and they do make it partly out of there. And riflemen out in the open. Volksgunners in cover. Flamethrowers, everything. The riflemen are simply outnumbered. They need to get out of there alongside their engineering friends, and there we go. A hasty retreat, not looking too good there. Engineers and riflemen also doing a bit of reinforcement. So far only 3 rifleman teams for the Beast and 4 Volksgrenadier teams for Chains. That's going to be rather an advantage Chains has right there. Attempting to lay down some sandbags there, but for some reason it doesn't quite work, as the American immediately stopped taking the point and focus on the Volksgrenadiers, which actually would be bad, to then sort of try and build something right in front of that. So good move there by Chains. And the riflemen are getting gunned down. Usually you'll see the American actually having the infantry advantage in terms of numbers, but apparently this time around Chains has the upper hand. He has lots and lots and lots of Volksgrenadiers. 4 teams. Quite a few pioneers, although looking awfully close, but the riflemen make it out of there for now. And looks like a major assault force is moving forward, riflemen with BARs and quite a bit of flamethrowers. So far no mines up for chance, but lots of barbed wire, which is certainly nice to see. And oh dear, the rifleman team was cut down on the retreat, and Chance decides he wants to go defensive, figuring, well, already hold most of the territory, I might as well do my best to just hold it. Which is certainly not a bad line of thinking, at least better than I'm pushed into a very small amount of territory. I need to attack, thus I'll go defensive. That's certainly what some players seem to think. Assault phase has been completed, and this probably means that Mr. Change will be going straight for the heavy armored cars, the schwere Panzer Spielwagen, and a direct assault on the Wehrmacht positions, but for the fatherland, extolling the virtues of holding the line and shooting the Americans makes them that much harder to kill and to hit, certainly giving Change the advantage right here again, besides the fact that he has just more weapons to level against the Americans, and the Americans are just getting slaughtered. It's a massacre. It's a charnel house. Well, it's sort of outside of a charnel house. Although it looks like some medics have been burned as well. Quite unfortunate. Still no medic stations for the American. Quite unfortunate again. When you have lots of infantry, get a medic station on a medic bunker to really capitalize on it and really risk the decrease the amount of attrition you're going to be suffering. Really looking good for an American friend at this stage, having taken quite a beating. But I can say this much, he's not going to be out of the fight right away, and Change immediately begin laying down mines, making it that much harder for the Americans to advance through his territory, probably figuring he's probably not going to be able to hold all of this right away. But immediately still seizing territory to at least deny the American and just be a pain in the arse. And looks like the Beast is launching a counterattack, and some engineers have gained veterancy 1, making them that much more lethal. And barbed wire going down to follow the Americans into kill zones and more particularly into mines. Not a bad idea. Riflemen charging forward, some Volksgarniers forced away. And the Sturm army already up. Mines hit, riflemen pinned. Volksgarniers a bit out in the open, also forced away. Heavy armored car on the way. And looks like these Volksgarniers will be having a bit of a hot retreat. And in the north, Volksgarniers are not really reacting, it seems, just sort of hanging about. Although it looks like Change is conducting a full retreat, not wanting any stragglers to sort of be picked off by the Americans. Not a bad idea. Instead, going to focus it all in his base and prepare for a massive counterattack. While in the meanwhile, the Beast is moving forward, hoping to catch that medic bunker and knock it out. That's certainly a nice choice. In fact, it's time to have a go look at the Beast. Engineers actually make it out there. Volksgarniers charging, hit riflemen out in the open, very low on health, very low on men. Medic getting gunned down, certainly wants to prevent that Grenadier team from popping out of that bunker. Volksgarniers and now further pioneers and further Volksgarniers, and the Americans absolutely shift their attention once more for the fatherland goes up, making things that much tougher. Engineers just scorching away, burning as many Krauts as they can, turning them into hot dogs, but sadly no luck. And now the heavy armor car with its auto cannon delivers quite a lot of death onto the American forces, forcing them into a retreat. Not looking good at all, and sadly the Beast has absolutely no anti-tank assets. He has nothing that can really put a stop to that heavy armored car right away, thus giving Change another rather stark advantage right off the bat, at least. My goodness. So of course, is how will the Beast react to this? And of course still no defensive measures at all from the Beast. Nothing that really prevents him from the longer fight. No medic stations or mines or anything. But looks like he has gone for airborne. Quite interesting that. And he's going for sticky bombs to try and deal with the armored cars through that. And we are seeing a supply unit up. That's certainly going to help a bit with the manpower upkeep. Of course, question is, will of course remember then to of course also get the upgrades. And the North Rifleman coming under fire as the heavy armored car moves in, opens up. Rather than standing a bit out in the open, trying to seize the fuel away from Hans. And there we go. And some Volksgarniers now marching northwards. Riflemen hanging about in their building, using the broadside, opening up. Basically tying down the Wehrmacht forces. And we are seeing a bit of veterancy now for the Volksgarniers, meaning of course a Krieg Barracks is now up for Change and the 352nd Grenadier Division. And now we are seeing quite a bit of manpower being used against this. And of course providing nice target for a strafing run. Killing quite a few Volksgrenadiers as Reitman move in. Gunning down perhaps even some on the retreat. There we go. 2 Volksgrenadier teams cut down. That was certainly a bit of a coup de grace from the Americans. Deny changed quite a bit of his infantry power there, although Grenadiers might be ready very soon. There we go. And mines going down en masse. Good show there by Chain. Certainly constantly on the ball, constantly active, constantly doing something. If he's not attacking or seizing territory, he's laying down barbed wire and mines. That's the spirit. That's the way you want to do it. Absolutely brilliant. And meanwhile, Engineers also making a breach in the north at the same time. Beast is not really being sort of casual, relaxing. He's constantly trying to find new approaches to attack from, and he's just basically using these riflemen apparently in this house as bait for Change, and it looks like Change is rather falling for it, expending quite a bit. And in the meanwhile though, the Beast runs into quite a beastly minefield, killing and pinning quite a few, causing heavy wounds. And the Engineers set off another mine, and they are dead. And another mine, my goodness, just heavy losses for just 50 munitions. No, that was 75 actually, but still quite a bit. And now the riflemen are forced away as flamethrowers move in, making the house a bit of a bad place to be unless you fancy burned flesh. And he's sort of marking about. Volksgrenadier is now moving in to put a stop to that. What Volksgrenadier is that remains to this heavy armored car on the move.
Losing ground out there.
And an American mine though there to stop it. And there we go, a destroyed engine. Good show there by the Beast. And Chain's armored car. It's now more of a moving candle, albeit very slowly moving candle, but still lighting up a bit, and of course firing away. And looks like another heavy armored car is on the way. And Veterancy 1, what does Veterancy 1 do? It actually decreases the damage taken. So again, not a bad upgrade to get, just like with armor. Veterancy 1 decreases the damage taken. Good idea as always. Generally one of the best upgrades. Engineers getting stopped by the other heavy armored car, which is freshly arrived. Engineers hiding in here from the big bad heavy armored cars. And a bit of a lull in the fight, or what? No, the Engineers are still trying to seize that victory point as the armored car continues to blast away without remorse. And oh dear, these Engineers are forced to run the gauntlet, and they do not make it. Grenadiers now on the field as well, of course, much more accurate, much more lethal than Volksgrenadiers. And the Americans are perhaps coming into their house. That would be a bit lethal. No, instead they're going through there, basically hiding there, hoping to perhaps lure the Germans into besides them, and right into the face of the BRs. No, they're not. What are they doing? They are in fact running into the house, and the Grenadiers lob a grenade, a Stahlgranate into the house, killing 3 riflemen outright. Absolutely horrendous.
We hold the initiative.
At the same time though, the Beast is going for the tank depot, hoping for a bit of fun for his menagerie of devious armor, and getting a Hellcat. Interestingly enough, there's no grenades at all from the Beast. That could actually be quite helpful against the rather heavy infantry focus from Chains, but no. And another strafing run, pinning and killing. My goodness, the Beast is quite effective with coordinating air assets, and generally just doing quite a bit of damage with every strafing run. That's just good to see. And riflemen hiding inside the building, getting focused down by the armored cars. And there we go, the Hellcat, the beastly fiend. Rather a fast tank destroyer with quite a nice gun. Albeit the Wolverine did have some slightly thick armor. The M18s was actually pretty thin. I mean, even an armored car like this with its 20mm autocannon could in fact have knocked out a Hellcat from the side pretty much. And the Hellcat moves in, opens up, and does quite a bit of damage to the heavy armored car. And looks like Change has heralded the Nebelwerfer and is now firing away, meaning that Mr. Beast is going to have a much harder time actually advancing, because Nebelwerfers will be hounding his every step, suppressing and pinning and burning. Hellcat firing away. Now the only armored asset, albeit very lightly and not really effective against infantry, albeit it still can hit. And it can crush barbed wire, so it's not entirely useless, I suppose. But it's going to be his primary tool against the heavy armored cars, it seems. And Chains is a bit of a pickle himself, seeing as he has no anti-armor assets himself. No Panzer Division, no Pak 38, although he does have a Krieg barracks up. And no Sturmgeschützvier. Of course, he could also be upgrading any of his armored cars. Bunker coming under fire. Rifleman advancing into the center. And the M18 hits a mine. Quite unfortunate there. No upgrades from the supply yard. He could be going for the Sherman tank, though. That would actually be quite helpful against the infantry. Rifleman sneaking about. Armored cars advancing, hoping to catch some of those riflemen right there, trying to seize the point. And the M18 gets a hit. Volksgrenadiers advancing. Grenadiers now with Panzer Schrecks. Well, they previously were without. My goodness, Volksgrenadiers advancing. Grenadiers advancing. Heavy armored car also nearby. Hellcat doing its best in the air under fire. The riflemen trying their best to keep the Volksgrenadiers away, and that as well the Grenadiers. And a Pioneer team was slaughtered. Good show. But the riflemen are simply taking too much firepower, and the M18 Hellcat needs to get away. But the engineers are desperately trying to put together the engine so it can actually get away in decent tempo. Nevertheless, rockets now hound them. Screaming down, killing the engineers, making it that much harder, forcing the M18 just to try and get out of there on its own. Which is certainly not going to be easy, as Grenadiers with the Panzer Schrecks are now hounding it. But an M4 Sherman has arrived. Good show. Heavy armored cars continuing, including a third one. My goodness. And wait, he's going for a second Krieg barracks. I do believe you might call that an accident. At least I hope it has. I mean, I've certainly seen it from time to time and done it myself. This sort of thing where you have so much to keep track of and you need to build something, and then all of a sudden, then, oh dear, wait a minute, I didn't need that second Krieg barracks.
Losing ground out there.
Sherman advances. Opens up, killing one Pioneer. Will he get another Pioneer? Of course, the Grenadiers inside there will prove to be a bit of a nuisance because it has to get close. There we go, Panzer Schreck hitting the front. And in this case, the church actually provides nice protection. But the Grenadiers still vacate, and two are down, my goodness. Hellcat advances, cloaks, ambushes, in fact, increasing the damage. There we go, half health down from the heavy armored car. And this heavy armored car might in fact not survive it if the Hellcat stays on its prey. Bit of fighting right here in the north. Engineers versus Volksgrenadiers. Flamethrowers versus rifle. Heavy armored cars not able to do much. Grenadiers back at the medic bunker for repairs. Or reinforcement aspect. Nevertheless firing off. And a Pack 38. M18 continues still. And a strafing run right there. My goodness. Killing quite a few Pioneers. Repairing. Volksgrenadiers suppressed. And the Puma is out, but the Pack 38 is ready. And no, it doesn't able to fire. Sherman advances, and it's time to return to change. Another heavy armored car is gone. That Hellcat is certainly racking in a few kills. And 3 infantry even. I'd certainly say it's earned its keep. Question is, for how long will it be able to last? And this German needs to get out as well. Barely any health left. Needs to get away. Oh, the Sherman got crushed. That was quite unfortunate. A bit of a waste. Hellcat, though, looks like it might make it out. No, don't advance in. Do not advance in, Hellcat. No. And that was just not good at all. A sticky bomb, though, goes off on the remaining heavy armored car. Damaged engine. Flamethrowers, and now an anti-tank gun dropping in from the air. 82nd Airborne Division providing, and there we go. Heavy armored car taking quite a bit of damage. Another shot from that anti-tank gun. No, it misses. Quite unfortunate. And another heavy armored car on the way. Riflemen firing away at these Grenadiers. And another for the fatherland. Heavy armored car knocked out. What is going on in the American base? Airdrops, but no supply yard upgrades. Can't help but feel that might help a bit with veterancy as well. Again, sort of things like those are nice. I mean, basically prepare for the long fight if you can, always. And the American doesn't really seem to be doing that. No medic stations, no supply yard upgrades. This could really cripple him severely in the long run, rather than actually give him an advantage, because in particular supply yard upgrades increases the rate of veterancy for your riflemen, thus meaning that it's actually useful in more than one manner. Grenadiers counter-attacking, clearing out the armies of the 1st Infantry Division, while the 352nd continues with lots of heavy armored cars, courtesy of the 2nd Panzer Division. And more barbed wire from the Grenadiers again being active, not just sort of hanging about, but always doing something. If it's not seizing territory or killing armies, he's laying down barbed wire or mines. And engineers running straight into these Volksgrenadiers, which proved to be a rather bad idea for the engineers. And an anti-tank gun back at base, getting a bit patched up. A bit of quietude once more.
The enemy has 300 points.
Change holding the line, scavenging the wrecked armored cars for munitions. That is a very good idea. Americans once more advancing for Uncle Sam. And looks like a heavy machine gun has been crewed up from the base, although the mortar could be useful as well. I mean, it is a mortar, and that could, for example, be used to bombard this position, making it much harder for Change to actually hang about his bunker. So that could be used, but sadly that does not seem to be the case. And we are hearing the scream of the Nebelwerfer. Yes, indeed. The Beast was able to divine it, but sadly the Nebelwerfer was able to suppress. And even hit a bit there. That was a bit unfortunate. Riflemen getting into the building. Grenadiers about. They could be lobbing in quite a few grenades. Yes, indeed. And a strafing run, killing one Grenadier team outright. My goodness, that was outrageous. But the Grenadiers managed to salvage the Panzer Division before the Riflemen seize it. But again, useful timing of the strafing run, and of course realizing that now with the patch, infantry units have to be together for the strafing run really to do the most work. And there we go, immobilizing a Puma. Heavy machine gun sending up, could be firing armor piercing rounds. Anti-tank gun advancing as well. Pioneers trying to repair the heavy armored cars, but they are simply getting pinned down. Engine damaged again after having been repaired by the Pioneers. Pioneers are pinned. Anti-tank gun could knock it out. No, the anti-tank gun just keeps missing and missing and missing. And looks like a registered artillery barrage is going in. I think that might have been a misfortunate accident right there. Hits absolutely nothing, just blowing up dirt and debris. Volksgrenadier engineers advancing. Another heavy armored car lost. I'd certainly say that might be a small platoon of armored cars lost there for Change at this stage.
We're losing a sector.
The 2nd Panzer Division shall be missing those sorely.
What is it?
Volksgrenadiers getting gunned down. What the bloody hell am I talking about? BAR's doing the worst, and the Volksgrenadiers are really feeling it. Oh dear, another Volksgrenadier team could be lost. Run away, Volksgrenadiers, run away. No, they didn't make it. Another Volksgrenadier lost, meaning only one team, and a Grenadier team. Heavy infantry losses for Change, simply horrible. Although at the same time, the Beast is not doing quite much better, and unlike Change, he doesn't have a medic station to at least help him with that. Which again is rather the Beast's main problem. Again, he's not really preparing himself for the long haul. No barbed wire, no sandbags, no medic stations, no mines. Barely anyone. We've only seen one. Volksgrenadiers getting gunned down. Veterancy 2 up for Change infantry. This is a good upgrade. Gives Volksgrenadiers a bit of suppression resistance and damage resistance, whereas with Grenadiers they get elite armor, making them much tougher towards...
We have lost a unit.
making them much tougher against small arms fire. My apologies right there. And the 2 dual Panzer tanks in this Panzer tank buster team of Grenadiers forces away the Sherman quite swiftly. And again, a mortar would have been nice, but again, he just doesn't seem to want those mortars. Only the heavy machine gun, which certainly isn't a bad idea. Again, American heavy machine guns aren't bad, but a mortar would also be helpful, to say the least. Engineers, Pioneers with flamethrowers now doing quite a bit of damage to the Riflemen. Veterancy 2 even, they need to retreat. Veterancy 2 Riflemen are not a resource that should be wasted at all. They are quite valuable, in particular if they get to Veterancy 3. And that anti-tank gun keeps running back to the base for healing and reinforcements. Sherman in dire need of repairs. And another engineer team simply cut down. And let's go have a mid-game analysis. I mean, my goodness, already been quite a fight, hasn't it? Quite some heavy losses on both sides. Lots of infantry on one, lots of infantry on the other, plus heavy armored cars. But Change is currently still holding the advantage in some senses. I mean, he's really been expending most of his manpower in, well, more efficient manner. He's not been losing a lot of things in such a sense, not like the American who's lost to mines, lost to infantry, lost to armored cars, lost to anti-tank fire. I mean, he's lost tanks, armored cars, no, not armored cars, but tank destroyers. He's lost infantry en masse. So really, I mean, Change is sort of holding the advantage in particular, since he does have that medic bunker. He can sort of afford those infantry losses a bit better, plus the defensive is sort of helping him as well to sort of be stronger, although the second creep barracks was certainly a disadvantage of quite a kind. Although again, I'm pretty sure that's not part of an actual coherent strategy. If it is, though, I'm going to be a bit disappointed. And looks like actually he managed to uncap that forward barracks. Sort of missed that. My apologies. But still, of course, for Mr. the Beast to rather win through, he really needs to sort of advance a bit more. He needs to get something that can prepare him for the longer fight. He needs a supply yard upgrade. He needs a medic station. He perhaps needs to sort of press through here, press from other points and rather this direct point, and sort of force change to sort of divide his attention even further, spread him out, and try to minimize the effects he can get from For the Fatherland and registered artillery. That way he might be able to win out, because Chains has rather also taken quite a beating. But if you're giving him the advantage of allowing to concentrate his forces into a tight cluster, tight strong point, you're simply not going to break it. You're going to have to spread it out and thus take it apart piece by piece. Otherwise, Chains is probably going to win this fight. But let us return to the fight. In fact, yes, I've sort of sit fight quite a bit. Germans still in dire need of repairs. What remains of the 1st Infantry Division at the moment advances once more. Tank depot flashing up. Heavy machine guns, riflemen, anti-tank guns. All the fun stuff. Grenadiers trying to seize the point, but heavy machine gun and riflemen advancing. Will the heavy machine gun set up? Yes, indeed. And a registered artillery barrage would be a nice thing to drop in right here. Lots of American infantry and a heavy machine gun nearby. It could get it all. Yes, indeed, registered artillery. A heavy mortar barrage flies in. But fortunately for the Beast, he is able to get away from it all. Riflemen charging these Grenadiers. Veterans who want, but the Grenadiers are simply gunning them down. And who makes it into the house first? It is the Grenadiers. And the Riflemen might want to flank it, or at least have a grenade, but it looks not like the Beast has grenades. And Nebelwerfer's fire in, but missing. Quite fortunate for the Beast. That changes artillery gunners are not quite as accurate as could be, but then again, that is something with all map artillery. Its accuracy is dependent on if you can actually see the target and how far there is. The farther away, the less accurate, and if you can see the target, it's going to be a lot more accurate in general. So keep that in mind. Heavy machine gun setting up, and the Grenadiers are caught in the middle of the heavy machine gun fire, and the BAR force away. It looks like Change is able to get some replacement infantry right away, and some further heavy armored cars. He's constantly losing them. And looks like, no, that's a Crocodile Sherman. That's a bit more unusual. I'm not entirely sure if it's good enough, though part of me thinks it actually needs an accuracy upgrade to really get the most out of that flamethrower. It can be a bit inaccurate at times. Well, let's see how this goes. Pack 38 at the front. Sherman advances, coming under fire from the Pack 38. And the Sherman decides to stop up in front of it. That's not how you want to do it. Crocodile could clear that out, but no. And what is this? A bombing run knocking out both Nebelwerfers. My goodness, quite able to coordinate the air assets, and the Sherman gets knocked out. That was just unfortunate armor tactics. Again, don't stop a tank in front of an anti-tank gun. So that was the Sherman gone. The Crocodile doing its best. Already scorched one team of Pack gunners. Will he be able to do the same with the Grenadiers? No, it seems unable to really do much. Quite unfortunate. He could move forwards with it if he decides to, but certainly it was a good job in knocking out those Nebelwerfers with a bombing run. Quite devastating. Another Pack 38 on the way to replace the one lost. Anti-tank gun moves forward. Heavy armor car under fire. Sherman pulls away as the Grenadiers get inside. And they rather realize they're in front in a flamethrower, but will they react in time? Yes, indeed. Quite quickly, Change realizes that you don't want to be in a building when flamethrowers are nearby. Armored cars doing a bit of harassment, firing away at the engineers and riflemen. Riflemen sticking up to the bocage. Could be lobbing a sticky bomb over it, I suppose. But no. And the Sherman sort of hiding behind the cafe. trying to fire for a bit of flames, but never really manages to hit.
Heavy rocket artillery. Request target.
And looks like heavy rocket artillery has been made ready for change. And let's go return at the Beast with more supply drops, and he has access to another bombing run very soon. That could do some nasty damage if used properly. The Beast certainly pushing onwards, but again, no medic station. Again, I really would have liked to see that airborne though dropping in, picking up a drop BAR, but again, medic station, please. Oh well, Sherman coming under fire from the Panzer Division. The Sherman is not doing anything though to deal with them. That's quite unfortunate. And we haven't enough munitions for quite a decisive bombing run, if so decided, or a strafing run. Anti-tank gun recruit by the airborne, but the Panzer Division might clear it out. No, wait, what? Grenadier is advancing, and a strafing run, but it misses this time around. The Beast this time around does not have success with the strafing run, quite unfortunately. Perhaps also been a bit quicker. Grenadiers inside getting burned alive. Sadly, no kills for the Sherman. Still no supply and upgrades. I'm not really liking that at all. Grenadiers hanging about the medic bunker. Still no mortars. Either that again could have been useful to keep up the pressure here and really break through the last stage, but again, no mortars. Just a heavy machine gun, nothing further. I'm not quite keen on that. I rather find it a bit disappointing, in fact. Veterans C3 rifle, albeit only 3 left. Keeping these Grenadiers at bay, but for how long? And looks like the anti-tank gun is moving in to flank. Very sneakily, very covertly. Engineers killed. And the Crocodile now faced with the Grenadiers with the dual Panzer X. Firing away, and even Veteran G2 it's having problem with, so I think that might actually call. So again, I'm not really going to recommend the Crocodile Sherman. The Sherman Crocodile, also known as the Semois actually. The Crocodile was the Churchill with the flamethrower. And another bombing run, my goodness. Knocking out the anti-tank gun and a heavy armored car. Quite good with the coordinating the bombing runs and strafing runs. That's certainly quite a skill right there. Hey, machine gun in a church which has been converted into a forward barracks. But what is this? Mortars advancing en masse. That's a small mortar section just blasting away, providing quite a bit of artillery directly into the American lines. Constantly and accurately. This is going to be quite a problem for the Beast, who has absolutely nothing to respond with, and his bombing run has been used, so he can't really get anything in like that. Quite unfortunate, and he's going to be forced away from this area. He cannot fight within the range of 2 mortars like that. And dual grenades on the rifleman, doing quite a bit of damage. Still no grenades for himself. And looks like these airborne are forced away. Riflemen doing their best. Some veterans C3 fully reinforced this time around, but they are out in the open. Heavy armored cars joining in, and mortars as well. 9 kills so far for this one. 1 kill and a vehicle kill. That's probably the armor kill. That's probably that anti-tank gun. And now the other anti-tank gun cleared out. The mortars just keep firing without relent, without stopping. 12 kills in fact, and then 2 kills and that anti-tank gun completely wrecked. Certainly earning their keep as well. And now the American positions are simply getting hammered by mortar fire as the Grenadiers advance in with a bit of a heavy armored car. The riflemen seem quite rattled and just reported in as a Panzer, albeit a heavy armored car is not a Panzer. And more mortar fire on this position. This is rather looking bad for the Americans. The riflemen are in a full retreat now. Airborne moving forwards. What will he do? He actually recruits the mortar with the airborne. That's actually pretty expensive. I mean, I can certainly understand that things are desperate, but he has to be careful, and he can certainly end up getting counter-mortared quite easily. Because there are 2. And a grenade instead gets dropped, killing 1, and another grenade, clearing out the mortar completely. That didn't do much.
Airborne, ready for duty.
Very, very little left for the Beast. Shattered by the armored forces, well, the infantry forces of Change, who now has veterancy 3 infantry, giving them a health bonus, telling them that much lethal. How shall the Beast work his way out of this one? Charging forward with his airborne, apparently. Running them into the church, perhaps to stop. No, and it was too late. The forward barracks has been torn down. Grenadiers get into the church. Airborne continuing the run. Whatever does he have planned? Mortars quite spread out, so there's no chance of a bombing run. I suspect that might have been what he was looking for. A bit like the Nebelwerfers on a nice line and then bombs. But no, Change has learned and is spreading out his mortars to avoid a fate like that. Good show. The Beast still not looking too good at all. And again, the sort of lack he had in sort of things that could prepare him for the longer fight is rather again showing very little infantry, very little manpower. Again, that's sort of the thing you want to be careful with as the Americans. You want to be ready for the longer fight, otherwise you're simply going to get drained out in the long run. Recruiting the anti-tank gun, but the anti-tank gun needs to get away, and that leaves only 3 veterancy 3 riflemen. That's a bit of a bother, a bit of a mistake. And the anti-tank gun quickly gets cleared out, meaning these 3 riflemen were wasted on it. Some airborne sneaking through in the south. And finally looks like he might be trying to spread out, change defenses, which he probably ought to have done a long time ago rather than continuing to attack where Change actually had a chance of fending off the attack. Such things actually matter. Mortars fire. Quite a bit of munitions being hoarded. And looks like he's going for a Sherman tank. Could be he's making ready for another push. Certainly not a bad idea, albeit with what little is left, he really needs to make it count if he wants to make a dent. And looks like the airborne are trying to sort of spread out the defenses, taking the southern victory point. Heavy armor cars on the move. Schwerer Panzer Spielwagen opening up on the armored, well, not the armor, but the airborne. And the airborne are forced into a swift retreat. And in all, veterancy 3 riflemen, 27 kills. Not bad. 5 kills to this mortar and 12 still to this one though. There we go, Sherman ready. And 400 munitions. I'm quite excited to see what the Beast will be doing with that, seeing as he's been quite effective with his bombing and strafing run. And looks like he's getting in more munitions. He really has something in mind. A bit of a masterpiece, I might suspect. Something that's going to require quite a bit of munitions to actually pull off. Probably intending both a bombing run and a strafing run, which certainly could work. Grenadiers on the run. Also quite a bit of fuel, but clearly fuel is not his primary target. Again, in a sort of hierarchy of resources, manpower is the most important one, fuel is secondary, and munitions is sort of tertiary. And Sherman facing off against the heavy armored car on the run, trying to gun down these veterancy 3 riflemen. If he gets the kill, that's going to be quite a heavy blow to the Beast. Veterancy 3 riflemen are quite expensive, quite valuable. Seeing as, and they are lost. Oh my goodness, the inhumanity. Veterancy 3 riflemen, among other things, get a 50% damage bonus. Plus all the accuracy and damage decrease bonuses, which unlike elite armor actually apply to everything. So that was quite a heavy blow to the Beast and quite a victory for Change. In fact, let us go return to Change, who's certainly saving out a bit of manpower. He doesn't quite have as much fuel though as him. On the other hand, he does have a Flak 88. Flugzeugabwehrkanone. Originally intended as an anti-aircraft gun, but During the Spanish Civil War, it was rather realized as the first time in a sort of improvised situation that, hey, wait a minute, there's actually a pretty good anti-tank gun as well. It was also sort of discovered that really during 1940, but it was really during the fighting in North Africa that it really came into fore as an anti-tank gun and really did quite a bit of damage.
Losing territory.
Heavy armored car rather in a bad situation, and there we go, knocked out. Mortar round suppressing the airborne. Mortars just keep firing. Good show there. Again, dual mortars, a bit rare, you see that. But again, a mortar is generally a nice weapon to have on the defense, on the offense. And certainly is helping out Chance to get the most out of his defenses. Sherman advances, comes under fire from Panzer VI, quite a few of them. A strafing run here could be nice, but no, too late. And for the fatherland up. Mortar close to being cleared out. And there we go, mortar is killed. Anti-tank gun could be cleared out very soon by these airborne. Veterans won already. But no, seems not. Instead forced to retreat. It seems like the Beast's assault on the 352nd Grenadier Division's defenses has utterly faltered. Not good at all, lacking the steam to push through. Again, how much munitions? I'm surprised they didn't use a single bombing run or a strafing run in particular right here with all those grenadiers on a chain. It could have done quite a bit of damage. 2 chains. But apparently he decided against it. And of course that's sort of the hard thing to guess why in some cases do they do what they do. Sometimes they can have different priorities, sort of different ideas, and of course a different perception of the situation. Again, the perception of the situation is the one hardest to guess. I mean, sometimes you rather feel you're losing, and then in reality you might actually have been winning. Things like that can actually be quite important. And another heavy armor car knocked out. Oh dear. And airborne and riflemen continuing, and further airdrops. He's spending quite a bit of manpower on that. I might rather suggest using what he has, perhaps using some of those mortars, and perhaps just using more in general, and perhaps getting a supply yard upgrade to get more manpower out of things. And again, a medic station. A medic station. Please, you can still turn things around with the medic station. And looks like another Nebelwerfer has been called in, and an officer. That's a bit of a rarity. But apparently Mr. Change is feeling he can't wait, and instead got the lieutenant to speed things up a bit. Another heavy armored car. That's certainly a bit... Well, I'm not going to say I agree with it. I rather think the officer is rubbish. But again, if he feels he needs to get things out faster, well, that's his prerogative, and that's certainly his decision. Looks like a satchel charge is getting used against the anti-aircraft gun. And cleared out. Oh dear. And looks like the airborne might be trying to recruit it. Yes, indeed. A grenade by the Grenadiers. Will that succeed? And Sherman moves in now that the anti-tank weaponry is gone. And the bunker could be knocked out. What is this? Registered artillery, I think. No, it is a rocket barrage. My goodness. Hoping to catch the Sherman. He utterly misses. And mortar rounds flying above the house onto the other side, suppressing their own men. Sherman advances, and we are seeing a bombing run. On what angle? Oh, that only knocked out the flank 88, which is certainly not a bad thing, but it could have hit some of the infantry, I suppose. Heavy machine gun on the spot, heavy armor car charging airborne, dropping in, getting killed, dropping in again, getting killed again. Heavy machine gun suppressing the Grenadiers, mortar rounds hitting tank. Clearing out, immobilizing the heavy armored car. And Nebelwerfer rounds, forcing away the rest from the center. Heavy anti-tank gun turning about. Heavy armored car knocked out. Another Sherman on the field. Really looks like Mr. the Beast has focused on armor instead, hoping to push through, and certainly Change defenses are slowly but surely getting crumbled and knocked out. The bunker is no more, but at what cost, I think. Again, nothing really to keep up. There's not much infantry and not much infrastructure in terms of actually lowering the manpower cost to actually keep it going. A mortar still hiding behind the house, but for how long? Apparently no more. Pulling away, and a Sturmgeschützspeer from the 352nd Panzerjäger Abteilung, which was actually supposed to have Marderfries, but was instead giving some Sturmgeschütz from a Rechtsstück Abteilung, I believe. And a bombing run right onto all of the infantry, and they narrowly miss it. I think a straight bombing run against that was a bit foolhardy, but the Sherman flanks the Stu. That is how you want to do it.
We have 300
And the Stu is lost. Good show there, and veterancy 2 for this Sherman, but they are going to be in dire need of repairs immediately. And this Nebelwerfer is rather exposed again. Changes Nebelwerfer's crews are probably not going to be a fan of him. And the Nebelwerfer was knocked out. Anti-tank gun firing away. Heading in the rear. Pioneer sneaking about in the north. And a Grenadier counter-attack immediately seizing in. Airborne with no grenades thrown into the path of this. That could have been great, but sadly no grenades for the Beast. Just continue pressure from Change's Grenadiers. And a strafing run perhaps. Penning down the Grenadiers, leaving them easy targets for the Shermans. If the Shermans decide to focus in Airborne, getting veterancy 2, increasing accuracy, forcing away the Grenadiers, leaving behind only the anti-tank gun to fend for itself. How will that work out? I don't know. Rifleman with veterancy 2 charging ahead of these Grenadiers. Sherman's nowhere to be seen, getting repaired still. Grenadiers slowly but surely getting pushed away, and the anti-tank gun cleared out. Vehicle veterancy 2 actually. And the Lieutenant moves in. The officer decides it's time to show himself as a leader and march right into the mess of things. Veterancy 3 Rifleman, my goodness. And the Grenadiers almost cleared up, but he makes it out of there. The officer in the meanwhile moving into the center, using forced retreat on the Airborne. Quite handy that. And now seizing the victory point, and the Lieutenant is actually one of the units that can seize a point the fastest, alongside Grenadiers and Riflemen actually. Heavy machine gun though setting up below him, I sort of suppose, and Sherman takes him in from the rear. And the Lieutenant though still secures the point, a hero of the fatherland. Certainly, but will he make it out of there? Apparently he does. Lucky bastard. But quite a few heavy losses for Change. Very little in infantry. The heavy armored assault simply was too much. And without the Flak 88 and with that Pack 38, there wasn't really much to stop him. Another Pack 38 moving in. Change is rather in a not so great situation either. The American onslaught simply proving too much for his armored cars, which aren't really the sort of unit for a stand-up fight. And the one Stuk he did have got its support removed and then cleared out quite calmly by the Shermans, which is certainly a good way to do it. Still no supply yet upgrades, I fear, and still no medic stations. I really can't stress that enough. Grenadiers moving into the south, heavy machine gun sort of moving about on its own, trying to run away.
The Americans are capturing a sector.
And Pioneers running away in the face of Airborne. The Americans doing their best to seize as many points. Heavy machine gun on the run, getting hunted down by the Grenadiers. Oh dear, oh dear. And the Lieutenant are waiting as well. But he's standing on the wrong side. No, wait, there we go. Will he get the kill? Apparently the Lieutenant scored the kill on the heavy machine gunner, showing the Grenadiers how it's done. Luger style. Rifleman advancing, gunning down that other anti-tank gun, and a forced retreat from the Lieutenant takes care of that again. Certainly not a bad usage of him right there, actually. Save the situation against the Shermans. I still say the officer needs some improvements, but I'm not going to say either that he's utterly useless, like say the LMG-42, but he's not very useful either. Still, and a strafing run on the Grenadiers. Anti-tank gun advances, Lieutenant sticks close, providing guidance and leadership. Very few points left for the Beast. Shermans keep firing away, veterancy free but very low health. Airborne dropping in, Sherman knocked out by the Panzerschreck, and another forced retreat perhaps. Airborne sneaking about, still no grenades for the Beast though. I'm quite disappointed on that. Again, he could really have done quite a bit. No, he's going for the victory point, trying to keep things together for just a little longer. Just a little longer while Change is putting up another bunker for the 352nd while another heavy armored car comes out. And he's cleared out that other creek barracks actually. Funny that. Heavy machine gun recruit. Airborne can of course reinforce on the field, so that of course is an advantage, and he can use the heavy machine gun to cover the airborne, and he's still doing so now, although he might want to move the airborne so that he can force in the Grenadiers a bit closer to the heavy machine gun, at least in my humble opinion. But certainly things have been shifting back and forth a little bit, but ultimately every time the Beast simply hasn't been able to get a good hold because he's rather been suffering too heavily in the process. And grenades on the riflemen, killing one outright. Grenadiers moving in, and the riflemen forced away in the face of the Grenadier. Airborne still holding here, trying to seize what points and munitions they can. Very few points left for the 1st Infantry Division and the Beast. And let us go have a look at him. Not a lot, in fact, left of either thing except fuel. He has a ridiculous abundance of fuel. That's probably due to a lot of supply drops. Grenadiers charging in for the fatherland active. Heavy armored cars circling in here, making things a mess for the heavy machine gunner and the airborne. Point being taken in the north by the officer, the lieutenant. Airborne also trying their best, but they are simply not enough for the Grenadiers. Riflemen also joining in. The armor forces being slowly forced back, but simply not enough time for the victory points. Engineers facing off against and a forced retreat. The lieutenant saves the day again via harsh language. He simply forces the engineers to run away. Veterans see 3 riflemen down to 3 men, very little health. Grenadiers and Pioneers forcing them back. Airborne getting gunned down while the heavy machine gun opens up with armor-piercing rounds, keeping things secure there. Sherman on the front, Panzer Division firing away. Another heavy armor car, my goodness. Airborne holding the line. More supply drops. And heavy armored cars circling about the heavy machine gun. While in the center, a desperate fight with Airborne supported by a Sherman and some engineers is unfolding. Airborne trying to clear out that anti-tank gun, the only thing that can really harm that Sherman at this stage.
Enemy unit down.
And the Airborne now gain Veterans 2, also gaining that 50% damage increase, I believe. Slaying engineers to celebrate that, apparently. Vicious bastards. Still, though, no grenades, not a single one. And still no supply and upgrades. Not quite fond of that.
Infantry squad lost.
Engineers facing off against the lieutenant once more.
Observation posts report we are losing.
Grenadiers under fire from the Sherman. Sherman takes hit from a Panzer Division. Really going by a razor's edge at this stage. And the final victory point, except the one in the center, is now coming under change control again. Counterattack moving in. Engineers and some airborne hoping to force away the lieutenant and take that point. Armored cars now leading the charge. A strafing run, pinning down a few Grenadiers, but doesn't quite achieve much this time around. Anti-tank gun recruit by the Veterans 3 Airborne. I'm not entirely sure that's what he wants. Should have kept them at full squad sizes. And now grenades getting lobbed. Knocking out the anti-tank gun, leaving the Airborne only behind very little. Heavy armored car could be knocked out. Veterans 3 Sherman. Northern victory point secured again. Heavy armored car forced away. Grenadiers leading the charge. Anti-tank gun could be recruited. Will change do so. That could turn the Sherman into a scrap heap. And there we go. Grenadiers going back to it. And Sherman recruit. Or pack recruit. By the glorious gunners of the fatherland.
Supply lines are broken. We have territory.
Veterans 2, but no, it doesn't get out of a shot. But securing the central victory point again, the Grenadiers continue to do so deftly for the fatherland up. But the Veterans 3 riflemen are still tearing through them. Grenades on the riflemen. And central victory point in the hands once more. But the American riflemen are quick to take it back. But will it be enough? Heavy armored car moving through the what remains of the ground and the road. Pack 38 ready to deter any Shermans. Airborne simply getting slaughtered. And some rather violent Grenadiers, 30 kills. And now the northern victory point is being lost to the officer. Again, the officer really proved to be quite a bastard. I've rarely seen him be, well, that much of a harasser. He certainly seems quite effective at it. So I could certainly recommend him for that role, actually. As long as you have the munitions, you can actually use him to hold off. Require the enemy to dispense with a much larger force to actually force him away. I'll have to try that out.
Enemy unit down.
And that looks like to be the end for the Beast. He has lost to change, and the 352nd, a victory for the Fatherland. A very hard-fought victory. Lots of heavy armored cars knocked out. Perhaps a platoon or two. Quite a few armored losses for the Americans. Lots of infantry dead on both sides. Lots of strafing runs. Lots of bombing runs. Lots of artillery of all sorts. My goodness, quite a bit of action. Quite a bit of a fight. But there you go. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, why not subscribe or tell your friends. And if you didn't, well, why not send in a replay of your own. But of course, the lessons. What can we learn from this? Well, again, I mean, one of the reasons why Chains was able to really keep things going was he was actually able to seize the momentum and keep pushing. He suddenly went for armored cars, then he forced the American on the back foot, forced him to react, continued to do so. He laid down mines. He really made it hard for the American to advance in right away. Good job there. And of course, you had the medic bunker. The American commander, on the other hand, made the two great mistakes. No medic station when he had a lot of infantry. No supply yard when he had a lot of infantry. That could really have helped them in not just in keeping the upkeep down, but also giving them more veterancy faster. And some grenades could also be quite a bit of help against the large Grenadier forces of Chains. Otherwise, I mean, we saw some great use of strafing runs and bombing runs. Certainly good to note. And we certainly saw the officer actually being quite a vicious little bastard on the flanks. Really flanking, really harassing quite expertly, and I've certainly never seen harassment quite like that using only an officer. That's certainly something to be commended, and I'd certainly say I could actually think about trying to use the officer as the ultimate harasser. As it really will be, you need to then actually have to dispense with more forces to actually properly harass the officer. Because you'll actually need two teams, otherwise you'll just send the one running and he'll just be standing around saying, Neener, neener, neener. But there you go, hope you enjoyed it. If you did, want to subscribe or tell your friends. Cheers!